Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Runehammer Games' Bearcats tabletop role-playing game, and a recent one-shot that I ran using Bearcats called it's called the GX5 session. So the GX5 one-shot. So today I'm going to talk about give a play report for my GX5 one-shot, which used the Runehammer Games Bearcats. All right, so let me give a little bit of a reference for Bearcats. Runehammer Games is a really fantastic tabletop role-playing game company. They're really famous for Index Card RPG, which is on its second edition. They have a really robust following. They're considered one of the very best within companies within making OSR games. I would say old school rules. And Index Card RPG is it's a redux of Dungeons and Dragons. Very elegant. Plays very, very quickly. I'm a huge fan. So we use so let's talk about Bearcats. All right, so Bearcats is made by Runehammer Games. Bearcats is one of, so Runehammer Games is doing something really unique and special, and it's called Battle Worlds. So Runehammer Games has been creating these Battle Worlds. These are very short kits that allow you to have a tabletop role-playing game in a specific world, right? They have like components. They have a map. They have NPCs. They really kind of give you a really nice, beautiful sketch of the world itself. These games come with printable pawns so that you can make your own miniatures that are setting specific. And these games they're really incredible because they essentially are establishing what you would see in a Dungeons & Dragons setting book in as little as 40 pages. And that's what Bearcats does. Now, Bearcats creates an incredibly unique world. So the Bearcats world is the 1984 Red Dawn movie done on a Terra colony, right? So it is the 1984 Red Dawn inspired film set on a colonized planet, and then alien invaders invade that Terra colony, right? And so the alien invaders are replacing the Russian troops in Red Dawn, and your players are the Wolverines, right? And in the book they call them Bearcats, right? So it's really gorgeous. Bearcats was actually created to be system neutral, and so basically you can use any rule setting you want. So you could run this with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. You could run Bearcats with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. You could run it with Genesis, Fantasy Flight Games Genesis. I used Index Card RPG 2nd edition. And it was fantastic. This is a great one-shot. We really had a blast. All right, so basically I'll give you a little bit of a story of my prep for this game. So as soon as I knew I was going to run this, I read the entire Bearcats 40-page battle world. And then what I did was, I did a little tweaking to make it my own. So in the book, Bearcats is TC3, which is Terra Colony 3. So I changed that to Terra Colony 337, and I set the world and I set the time in our world in 2399. And I explained so I explained to my 3-player characters. My 3 players. I had 3 players. They played a preacher, a student, and a mechanic. And I'll explain a little bit more about the world, and I'll explain the world right now. So I told them all, you all live on Terra Colony 337. Everyone who lives on Terra Colony 337 is a human being, right? And Terra Colony 337 was created 70 years ago by Dragofash. Dragofash is a corporation that is still within the Earth's solar system, within the 9 planets in Earth's solar system, right? And Dragofash is multi-billion dollar intergalactic corporation, but they went out of business, right? So now Terra Colony 337 is established as a colony. It's 70 years old, but it has this point where it needs to decide what it's going to do. Does everybody pack up and go home? Do they, now that they have no corporate masters, now that there's no corporation that owns Terra Colony 337, what is their future, right? So the preacher player character immediately said, so let's finish talking about Terra Colony 337. So Terra Colony 337, basically, Drago Fash sent out all of its settlers, right, in a colony ship, right? And on the colony ship was designed to be broken apart and used to build everything they needed on Terra Colony 337, right? Now, at this point, Terra Colony 337 has 400,000 people living on a planet 2/3 the size of Earth, okay? And the player characters all live in a small town called Fairview, right? And the main aspect of Fairview is Fairview College. By the way, Bearcats sets has Fairview High School, and I redefine that as Fairview College. One of the reasons why is the film Moonrise Kingdom. I'm a big Wes Anderson fan, and I love all his films. But when I watch Moonrise Kingdom, I'm like, I don't know. This is weird. I'm not comfortable watching this. I'm like, should I watch this? I don't know. It was odd. So we, just for safety's sake, we moved the high school up to college and made things a little less weird, right? A little less room for the X card to get pulled, right? All right. So at that point, we moved everything to a college setting, Fairview College, right? And one of the things I explained was everything on Terra Colony 337 is 1984 America, 1984 Heartland America. Now, the reason why there would be a Terra Colony, a Terran colony that looked like 1984 America is because the corporations that establish these colonies, they send everybody with 3D printers, and they can set the technology for their colony to any setting that they want, right? So basically, this Terra Colony, by design, had set all of its 3D printers to create technology, houses, vehicles, everything they needed, matching 1984 America, right? And then, just to be clear, that means that our Bearcat universe, right? There are other Terra Colonies that are set in like Victorian Gothic, right? Or in the Victorian era, and there's other Terra Colonies that are set in 1870s American Old West, right? And their 3D printers just print what they need. They print a saddle, right? They print so forth, right? And so one of the things that was really exciting is as I built the GX5 one shot, I really got to design my world the way I wanted my world to work. And I think this is one thing that's really beautiful about Runehammer Games battle worlds. They're really incredible. They come with a map, they come with non-player characters, they come with, essentially it's clear, right? It's your catalysts are going to be your player characters, you're going to supply your player characters. It gives you locations, and there's gorgeous maps in each one of these. Runehammer Games has mastered this. There's entities, those are your non-player characters. There's artifacts. There's important, really cool, unique pieces of equipment. There's equipment guides, right? And then they define the relationships, right? There's also essentially a bestiary, right? With it all within 40 pages. It is truly incredible. Runehammer Games is doing more with 40 pages than, in my opinion, any of the adventure books have done with 256 pages for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. It's astounding, right? You cannot buy a setting book for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, but for Index Card RPG, now actually there's one exception to that, and that is the Ravnica book. But that was a setting that nobody asked for, so I don't think it really counts, right? But for Index Card RPG, you can buy Blood and Snow, you can buy Bearcats, you can get Relics of Odium, and each one of these is an incredible, unique, really, really wonderfully playable battle world. That is just it. Runehammer Games is firing on all cylinders. They're doing some of the things that nobody else does, right? So basically, I got all my player characters to the point where they were they're set in their in the world, And then we just dropped it in, and we essentially very much replayed 1984 Red Dawn, right? So all of the player characters are at the college. The preacher, who was like a middle-aged man, was at the college, and he had been called in to specifically called in by one of the guidance counselors at the college because one of the students was suffering from depression, and the guidance counselor thought that the preacher could talk to this person because this person had a religious background, right? Then my other player character was a different student, an art student there at Fairview College, really kind of quiet and shy, right? Very interesting character. And then the last character was a mechanic, right? And the mechanic had a mobile tool shop, right? That was in a pickup truck. And the mechanic was, kind of a young person. Of course, the student is a traditional college student, about, between 18, 20 years old. And then the mechanic was about 30 years old, and all of the player characters were, they chose to play male, right? So they were male characters. So it was a male preacher, male student, male art student, and male mechanic, right? And at this point, the aliens drop in onto Terror Colony 337 and attacked that area, right? Attacked specifically Fairview, the town, right? And at that point, it just kind of launched off, and we jumped right into the game. So I appreciate your patience. I took most of my time really describing the building of the world and kind of giving an overview of what Bearcats is. So this is really my Bearcats GX5 one-shot prep description, and I'll do a separate video just to give you the full extent of the story that happened within the GX5 one-shot. We really had a blast. The world, right, costs $7.50, and you can run it with whatever tabletop role-playing game you're running right now, so that your players already know the rule system. The value on this is incredibly high. Runehammer Games is just crushing it. They continue to crush it. Really, really fantastic game. I was just fantastically, wonderfully thrilled with how much enjoyment we had out of this game. And by the way, this was an actual physical table game, which was challenging to get together. We only had 3 players, right? And there was a false start. We had to cancel one night because we couldn't get a quorum of players, and had to do it on the second night. So I'm still in the physical table game. It is very, very hard to put together physical tables today for tabletop role-playing games, but I'm truly convinced that this is important, and that we really need to keep doing everything we can to make physical table games a reality. So that is my play report, really for the preparation for the Bearcats GX5 one-shot. I appreciate you letting me share it with you today. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.